Hello, Linda, are
Good
you there?
evening. Good evening.
Linda, you are muted.
Typical, right? Hi, this is Linda Rossner. I am the chair of Smpte Hollywood, and I am thrilled to be introducing this event on drones. And I just want to thank you all for coming. I know it's been a little while since we've had a meeting, so thank you all. I will let our moderators, Christopher Alvarez and Mark Bender, introduce everybody. But thank you all, and let's get started.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. We are missing one of our panelists, Gabriel. So if you can send me a message, we'll get you in and promote you to host. If
Gabriel's
you send
on.
me, oh, he's on. There he goes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. Not let me show my video yet, but
Okay. Hold on. Let's do one.
Oh,
second.
one last thing. Sorry, guys. We will be taking Q&A, so please post it in the Q&A or in the chat. And one of the producers of the event, Alan Shulnick, will be screening and reading off the questions when appropriate.
Awesome. Great. So let's get started. So my name is Chris Alvarez. I have been a photographer and videographer for Smpte Hollywood for maybe like 6 years now or something like that. And through Smpte Hollywood, the reason this meeting came about or how I came up with the idea was I was on this little set called Lost Lederhosen with our good friend Jay-Z, if anyone knows him. And I actually, right before jumping on this set, I hated drones. I truly was not into them. I was not interested. I could care less. And I actually kind of hated them for some reason. I don't know why. But then I slowly started realizing that as a cinematographer, I needed specific shots that a drone could probably help with. And on this set for Lost Lederhosen, that's where I met Mark Bender. And Mark Bender was a specialist for drones. And so I kind of like picked at his brain and I asked him a lot. I knew nothing. And he told me about the Part 107 license and everything that I need. And that sort of started my drone journey. And then I've been shooting drone for maybe like 2 years, and I'll run a quick little reel of my work for 1 minute just to kind of see where my head's at and where my journey's at and how much I need to learn from everyone on this panel. And maybe I'm basically a beginner. I would consider myself a beginner. So I will be asking questions as a beginner and kind of learning about drones with all of our audience members. I will be the bridge into this journey. So before I bring Mark on, let me show you a little bit of my reel. I've since doubled my drone footage. I have just not had any time to update it. But yeah, that was like a year ago, beginning or start of pandemic. Um, Shout out, I also made the music on that. But yeah, thank you, Mark Bender, for showing me that route. And let me pass it on to you, Mark, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, all I know is Chris and myself are going to be known very shortly as the good-hearted, intended troublemakers. So we work well in that genre. Just very quickly, because I want to get on with the program, and our panelists are such special people and have the special insights and perspectives. The reason I'm in drones is not my fault. It's my wife's fault. The reason is she wanted to buy me a drone for my birthday. And I said, honey, I fly airplanes. I've been a pilot for over 40 years. I fly airplanes and I'm not in the joystick generation. I'll never learn it. You know, I'll never get it. Okay. But she says, you fly airplanes, you're in cinematography. It's a natural. So a friend of mine, mutual friend, who my wife knew, I went with him to a drone practice field that's nearby. He showed me the preliminary ropes, put the controller in my hand, and basically in 30 seconds, I was hooked for the rest of my life. That was it. I had no idea the technology could enable even a thumb challenged, finger challenged fellow like myself to aspire to create a little art using a drone instead of just, which I've done lots of air-to-air and whatnot, aerial photography, but that was a life changer. And so it is all my wife's fault. Due to that drone, we have been all over the world. So everybody says, hey, Bender, you don't get it. That was the best present for your wife she ever got you. So that's the way it works. Anyway, Chris, you want to roll? These are just,
Yeah.
This is a,
so we'll see where Mark is at on his drone journey.
There you go. This has been, it's not really what I call a reel. It's a reel that was edited specifically for social media. But I indulge you. I'm going to take advantage of your indulgence and please enjoy.
Well, I think we're both in a very much need of an update for the reel. Let's see. Awesome. Very, very beautiful.
Thank you, folks. So what I think we should do, Chris, you can take the lead on this.
Mhm.
Should we go right to Daniel at this point?
I
Uh,
actually was thinking we can start with Vic and Kenji.
oh, okay, cool, wonderful. We'll do that. We're just waiting for perhaps Elena and Travis to get in, but we'll adapt as necessary. Well, welcome. So Vic,
Yes.
I would like to just share just a moment. Vic has just descended from the top of Pikes Peak at 14,000 feet to join us this evening. We can all calm down. We can all be assured his oxygen level is back to normal, and he will be a wonderful panelist. Vic and I.
Well, it makes it sound like I climbed it. I drove up Pikes Peak. I did it in a car. So just to make sure people don't think I climbed the peak and climbed back down in one day.
Well, you're still our hero, so it's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And he is truly my hero. I have partaken in some of Vic's wonderful seminars and teaching, and I was actually able to visit him in his hometown and was able to partake in his wonderful mentorship and continue. I will probably always, for the rest of my life, be a very grateful student of yours, Vic. Vic
Yeah,
is
if I wasn't read enough already, I mean, come on.
he's a wonderful artist, and he has this passion about what we do in drone cinematography and still photography, and he has become now a reference person for the FAA regulations concerning drone operations. He is a member of the FAST team, which is the FAA safety team, and is also now, along with Kenji Shigahara, is a citizen. If I have the title, you can correct me, Vic and Kenji, a citizen member of, I believe it's the DAC, the Drone Advisory Committee, which helps take input from operators, from people in our industry, in the formation of regulations and all that sort of thing. So without further ado, Vic, please.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That was quite the introduction. Thank you very much. But yeah, Kenji and I are both part of Drone Service Provider Alliance. He's president. I'm vice president, and we're a regulatory, not regulatory. We help people understand why they shouldn't do what they do when they try to regulate drones. So we'll do that. Get into that just a little bit. Let me go ahead and share screen and start my little presentation. Then Kenji's going to talk about some set stuff because he's the cinematographer guy. I'm a videographer at best, but a photographer is my main thing. Drones have pushed me into the video side of life. So I'm going to go ahead, share a little keynote we've got going to go here, and talk a very, very, very little bit about regulations. I mean, they've given me 10 minutes and I could spend 10 minutes alone on one subject, so I'm not going to do that. So real quickly, DSPA, like I said, is Drone Service Provider Alliance. Myself, I'm a videographer, photographer, remote pilot, CEO, FAST team member, as Mark said, and also the Director of Legislative Affairs for UAS Colorado. We work with the state legislature and make sure that drone bills pass that are good and don't pass that are not. And we are 6 for 6, so we're doing pretty good there. And the correct title is Citizen UAS Operator, but you're pretty close there on the Drone Advisory Committee. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kenji as well. He is a drone cinematographer. If you watched the Super Bowl, you saw some of his imagery and in a couple of those commercials, at least one, maybe two. I don't know. He'll tell you about that. Also, remote pilot, president, CEO of DSPA. And he also he lives in Oregon and works in Oregon on the state legislature to help keep those drone rules at bay, I guess would be a nice way to put it. And he's also the BVLOS, which is Beyond Visual Line of Sight, ARC, Aviation Rule Committee, Rulemaking Committee. And so he's busy man right now. doing that stuff and making sure we can fly beyond line of sight here pretty soon, hopefully. And then DSPA, like I mentioned, our mission is to create positive environment for drone service providers by advocating for reasonable regulation. We know regulation's coming. Regulation has to happen. The industry's too new not to be regulated, and so what we're
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, we
Did we
lost.
lose Vic?
Lost him for a second.
Vic, toss it over to Kenji.
All right. Well,
Guys, can I interrupt for a second? It's Alan.
Sure,
While
sure.
we're waiting for Vic, just 2 seconds. Have a couple questions from people.
Sure.
For Mark, an anonymous person asked, do you have a drone pilot license? See lots of U.S. shots over 400-foot elevation. I guess as you do.
Yes, I do have a 107 since 2016.
Yes.
And my drone is never more than 400 feet above the ground. So I don't know what they're referring to, but it's locked in, loaded in my controller. So sometimes I use wide angle lenses that make me look a little, a little taller. But anyway, let's get back to the program, but I appreciate the question.
Oops, was that me or was that y'all?
that was you, Vic. Your connection
Okay,
is
dadgummit,
awful.
I'm in a hotel. I'm sorry, and I need to start video again.
Okay, real quick, one more for you, Mark. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay. What was your prior aerial visual work in plane or helicopter? That was
Little
from
bit-
Ian McSpadden.
A little bit of both.
That's what I thought.
A little bit
Okay.
of both.
That's it
So
for
sorry
now.
about that. I'm in a little bitty hotel in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. So not at home.
No worries. No
Not at
worries.
home. So sorry about that. So I think we left off at what we were. We won't really get too much into that again. So I'll start to play again. So y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
And you can see my screen, right?
We can see
No,
you.
I haven't shared my screen.
No
You
PowerPoint
can see
yet.
me because I
No, we can see you. We can't see the screen. Correct.
got it. I kind of know what I'm doing here. Okay, share screen, moron. Okay, now hit keynote, hit share, and let's start this again. We good now?
We're good.
Awesome. Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay, so for the sake of brevity here, we're going to just assume either everybody has their 107, which is the remote pilot certificate, or they work with somebody who does. What we'll do here tonight, again, you're not really going to learn much. Maybe you'll spark something because of the time constraints and the fact that my internet sucks. So what the DAC is and the DSPA, why you only want to work with 107. That's important. That's hugely important. What a COA and Lance is, how to get each. Operations over people, which we'll talk about. Wildlife issues, which is actually kind of a big thing here in Colorado, and I'm sure in Wyoming as well, or Wyoming, what did I say that for? California as well. I know with some issues and some of the local press there, we've had issues with that. Future regulations, what's coming down the pipeline? Not a lot, but there's a little. And then resources, of course. DSPA, Drone Service Provider Alliance. Kenji reached out to me and we formed this last year. And basically we knew there was a need for the small and medium-sized drone service providers to have a voice. And so Kenji reached out to me, a little bit back and forth. We decided, let's go for this. And we just got going. It's a 501c6 nonprofit. Yeah, registered actually here in Colorado. And we're doing our best to try and make sure people understand what we do and what regulators and stuff like that do. We have a cooperative relationship with the FAA, not a combative. We think that's very important when things like that. And we also work on the state and city level as well. We had a really big victory in Ohio here a while back. So why work with 107 Pilot? I love, this is not my photograph. I got it on, it's a stock photograph, but I love it and I use it a lot. Why do you want to work with 107 Pilot? Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody show up on a set and not be a 107 pilot and get in a lot of trouble. They're not the only ones going to get in trouble though. And it's not really the FAA that you need to worry about. I know as an FAA safety team person who would be the one making the phone call and say, hey, this is Vic, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Let's talk about what happened. I want you to understand that it's probably not the FAA that's going to be the issue if there's a problem, if you're flying without a 107. There are some other things, Part 135, you can, there's other things you can fly underneath the public COA, but we're just going to talk about 107 because that's what's going to happen in your industry. But the main reason is not the FAA that you need to worry about. It's your insurance. The last thing you're going to want to do is fly without an insurance, or fly with somebody who doesn't have a 107 and have an incident. Because if they don't have the 107 and they're flying under no insurance, because they probably don't have it, if they don't have their 107, it's going to fall on the insurance of the production company, and they are going to deny it. I can promise you the fact that they're going to deny any claim, because that's an illegal flight. It is technically an illegal flight. So the last thing you want to do is drop a big center lifter on a Ferrari and a set. I mean, that's going to end up ugly for everybody, and someone's going to get a lot of trouble, and it's probably not going to be the pilot, because they don't have any money. So you want to make sure that if you've got somebody on set with the 107 or with a drone, make sure they have 107. Make sure they have their own insurance. You might be umbrellaed under yours, but just in case, make sure they have theirs as well. Don't want any illegal operators on your set. Most of the country, and probably most places, people fly is what's called G airspace, uncontrolled airspace. And you can just fly. You have to check certain local laws, and you have to make sure there's no temporary flight restriction. But if you're going to fly near an airport, you're going to have to get what's approval to fly in controlled airspace. And there's two ways to do that. And it's one of the things Mark when we talk about. One is LAANC, which is a low altitude authorization and notification capabilities. I don't know how FAA comes up with the names they come up with, but they call it LAANC. And that's basically, if you look at every single airport, they have what's called a grid system. They're either green or red. We'll go into that here in just a minute. And then there's an altitude you can fly up to, and you just use an app on your phone, like Aloft, which used to be called Kitty Hawk. They're now called Aloft. Skyward, which is web only, and from what I understand now is also subscription based. I've had it so long, I've been grandfathered in. UA Sidekick is another one, which is also subscription based. But a lot of people are using Aloft. It works real well. And another app everybody should have on their phone if they fly is called Before You Fly. It's actually an FAA application or app. And it's great. All you do is you pull it up. It's like, oh, I'm in controlled airspace. I need authorization. And what it'll do is it pops you over to Aloft. So it's a great one to have. And if you can also say, hey, I'm in G airspace. I don't need it. Now they have notify and fly, but we're not going to get into that. By all means, look into that. And we'll have a link for that at the bottom. And then the FAA's ArcGIS site is also a very, very good site for pre-flight planning when you're in your office. It's a memory pig. So don't try to pull it up in the field on your phone or on your iPad or something. Now, I talked about the grids. I live in Denver, so here's Denver International Airport. If you notice, this is really small. We'll see it bigger here in just a minute. But there's all these little grids, or 1/4 of a minute on the GPS system, and each one of those has a little number in it. They go from 0 up to 400. And you'll see some green ones and you'll see some red ones. Now, the red ones in this case are Buckley Air National Guard Base. And then there's also some over by Colorado Air and Spaceport, they call it now. They just changed that. Actually, it's Buckley Spaceport too. I forgot they just changed that a couple of weeks ago. So a little bit closer, you'll see, here you go. You'll see all these have like a 50, I think there might be a 50 in there. There's some zeros. It goes all the way up to 400. Those are the altitudes you can fly up to by just saying, hey, go to Aloft, I'm flying here, and it pops up and you fly and you're good to go. If it's green, if it's red, you'll see a lot of reds here. You'll need to use something called a COA at the drone zone. We'll get into that here in just a second too. And they're also, if they're overlapping a little bit, you'll see red, and that's an issue as well. But for the vast majority of civilian airports, it's all green, it's all land. So you literally show up, you can fly to 300 feet, go to Aloft, say, hey, I'm flying, good, have fun, fly safe, blah, blah, blah. You're done. The red ones is a whole nother ball of wax, and those are usually DoD airspace. There are a few private run or civilian run Class D airports that are not LAANC yet, and they're going online here eventually. It's up to them when they really want to do it. So, but the FAA is pushing them. So if you're in, yes, sir.
Vic, don't forget, you can actually, for some of those grids, you can actually fly above the square and the green, but you have to coordinate prior with the sort of ATC through Aloft.
Correct,
so,
which leads us to our next slide.
Don't forget that. Yeah. I jumped the gun. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You can do it via LAANC as well. Skyward's great for that. But again, 10 minutes, we're not going to get too deep into that. So you need to either fly outside the grid maximums, as Kenji said, or an area that isn't Lance active. In that case, you go to the FAA drone zone, and we'll have a link to that in a minute, and you fill out an airspace authorization. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. There are tons of videos online to show you how to do it. And make sure it's an airspace authorization. I see so many people in the forum say, hey, I applied for a waiver and didn't get it. It's because you're not going to get an airspace waiver. There are no active airspace waivers right now under 107. I checked a while ago and they're not there. But make sure if you have to go the route of a COA, which is a certificate of authorization via the drone zone, give yourself some time. They can pop in as early as, they can do it in 2 days. But the odds are you're looking at weeks instead of days. So make sure you do it as soon as you can.
Yeah. And Vic, one note on that too.
Sure.
Try to do it at least a week to 2 weeks in advance.
As much time as you can.
And I know productions are awful on that. And I know that for a lot of us drone ops, location says, hey, can you do this next week? And most of the time it's like, no. So,
the trick there though, is you can go online and you apply for wide area authorization for every place you think you're going to fly. If it's not Lance, so you can do that for COAs. And here is what you're going to do when you apply for a new authorization, make sure you click the thing that says airspace authorization. That's the one in the middle. And that 99 down there below there, that's an cumulative total of my expired and current COAs. Because I did that very thing. I got COAs before Lance came around for every single airport I thought I would ever fly in Colorado and Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. So I have a bunch of those and they're all expiring. So, but get that as well. And it's really easy to do. It takes 10 minutes. There's lots of videos online to show you how to do it. So very easy to do. Real quick, moving on, ops over people. It is illegal to fly over people, and over means over, except if you have a waiver. Then you can do that. Those waivers are all going away December 31st of this year. And now you can also fly over people with very small drones. It's called operations over people. And they are divided into 4 categories of drones. The only ones you can use right now are category 1 drones. And those are tiny little drones, Cinewhoops. And if you're lucky enough to have gotten a hold of a Japanese Mavic Mini 2 or Mini with the prop guards, you can also fly those over people. They're under 250 grams and they have no rotating parts that will lacerate human beings. Or you can do what I did and get a Mini 2 and have somebody rustle you up some Japanese batteries and trim your prop guards. And if you want to know how I got about with I actually have a category 1 Mavic Mini, on our website there's a newsroom and there's an article about that. So if you want to read about that, it's actually pretty easy to do if you can find the batteries. The batteries are very, very, very difficult to find in the United States because they cannot be imported yet. They're not UL listed. So that's the issue there. DJI is working on it from what I understand. So hopefully one of these days, everybody can fly over people with these things. Category 2, 3, and 4 are coming down the pipe. They still have to get methods of compliance, all those things set up. What do you think, Kenji? 6 months optimistically, 12 months realistically?
It's going to take a while. Not even close.
12 months optimistically?
Optimistically. The ARC reports, we'll see what happens.
Don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath. And one thing I want to note too is there are some folks in Hollywood and in the US that have existing 333s or 44807s that allow operations over people on closed sets. So those are out there. There's a couple companies that have them. So, but for most other ops that don't have those, this is going to be the pathway forward in terms of ops over people.
Exactly. And make sure if you've got somebody you need to fly over people, if you ask them, if they have a waiver and you ask for it, they're going to say, yeah, and get all excited about it. If they don't, they may hem and haw. So make sure if you're going to have your drone guy fly over people, make sure it's going to be legal, because it gets ugly fast when things happen.
And if I just may interject, this is, and again, Kenji, please jump in here. I've been asked to do several things by directors and whatnot that don't realize some of the rules. And what's really interesting or challenging is designing the shot so that it doesn't fly over people, yet it to some degree satisfies the vision of the director.
Right. Right.
And I think that is what we as professionals who do comply with AFA, FAA regulations, that's part of the fun of it too.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
If you're the drone operator on set, you're the most educated person in this discussion.
Yeah.
Or you should.
Can I
hopefully,
interject?
hopefully.
Interject, please.
Yes.
Can I interject a question that's sort of related maybe to this about the use of drones
Mhm.
versus something else? Ringmaster Jeffrey, I think we know who that is. Chris might know who it is. He wanted to know, he says, drones are great, blah, 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 but why not wear a jib or use a zip line? Why wouldn't you want to use a tethered drone or use a zip line or something like that versus a regular drone?
Well, tethered drones are still drones. All rules apply.
Yeah.
And the
that's
zip
something-
line stuff is what's being used like in the football games.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're limited. You're
People
limited to
can't.
the line.
Yeah.
You know, try to fly through something or under something or over something with a zip line.
So
Versatility. I'm sorry, Kenji, go ahead. You're the
no. And that's really the duty of the drone op to really tell production, hey, a drone might not be the best tool. I mean, our company tells production, hey, or the DP, hey, the drone might not be the most appropriate tool in this situation. For example, on a lot of car commercials, we're like, you want us to be an arm car, why don't you just use an arm car? It's going to be a lot more stable, it's going to be a lot safer, and it's going to be a lot easier to execute. It's going to cost more money, but hey, if you have the budget, do it. So it's really incumbent on the folks who know how to fly to make that note. Another one, a zip line is great, for example, in shots within force where it's a straight line shot, where a drone might not be as great. However, there are FPV drones coming out which can do that. It's going to give you a little bit more dynamic shots than, say, a zip line that's just going to go straight through. So those are options as well. But you're right, there are situations where drones aren't the best tool.
I want to comment real quick from like a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
Back to like the reason why I hated the drones at the beginning was because I did feel that when drones started to get popular, everyone did get a little trigger happy and just started using drones for every single thing. And I'm like, oh, you don't need to do that.
No.
But now that I've radically changed my mind. I want to say that the one benefit that I love is the maneuverability. You're able to go up and down and left and right at the same time. You're able to mess with the axes and you're able to get these shots that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten. And you're able to like basically wrap yourself around a subject in ways that I wouldn't have imagined before. And so when I'm like on set or on a film, I get creative in that sense because I'm able to think about the intention of the shot in that way. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree, Chris. The thing that's interesting is, and Kenji, please, you comment on this in more detail. But the way I was raised in cinematography was we're there to enable the story, to enable the director to push that story. And I have a background in Steadicam, and it's almost the same discussion. Okay. Well, this isn't appropriate for a Steadicam. We're gonna need 5 takes. I can tell you right now. Why don't we just get the proper dolly, and you'll get it in 1 take or 2 takes, or it's just going to be that much easier. Okay, and sometimes it's actually saves time and budget because if you can get your page finished faster, okay, by using alternative, then you should do that. On the other hand, as Chris points out, the wonderful POV that drones can enable in that situation, fantastic. If everything is going to fit, do it, okay? Or as some people have talked about, the composite drone work, which is partially handheld, and then a takeoff is initiated or whatever. There's all kinds of different ways to do that, but yes, just as with Steadicam, there are magic things to do with Steadicam. There's magic things to do with the drone, but then there's like a lot of misuse of the drone, and that can be very distractive as well to the storyline and to your budget.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, for example, In another shoot, they were trying to have us use the drone to fly about 6 to 8 inches off the ground next to a moving car, get in the wheels. And the way that sort of there's what's called ground effect, which actually causes the drone to bounce. And it's like that grab a Rona 2 and just walk it along. And it's just going to be a much better shot.
Yeah.
So it's the right tool for the right job. And I think all of us need to make sure that we tell folks in the industry, you need to understand that drones shouldn't be used for everything.
I mean,
Gentlemen,
Oh,
Mark, can I interject real quick? No question here, but we need to move along to the
Yes.
next phase.
sorry.
Gee, we got sidetracked during a drone discussion. How did
Thank
that
you,
happen?
Alan.
When does that ever happen?
But I do have one question.
Sure.
It's from our own Rich Woolrich, he's our secretary, treasurer. The videos were nice at the beginning. Each presentation seemed a little jumpy, not smooth. He was wondering why that was. I just have a feeling it's the streaming of the Zoom stuff. It has nothing to do with your footage.
We put it there for special effect. No.
Yeah. It's
Hey, Mark's footage. It doesn't look like that.
Richard, I will explore that because that should be fixed. So we will work on that.
Okay, well, let's finish this up real quick so we can get the other stuff. Just real quickly, one of the issues in California, there was thought supposedly 2,000 eggs killed or whatever. Here in Colorado, we have issues with wildlife, eagles and nesting season, hawks, raptors, that kind of thing. Don't fly in wilderness areas. First of all, you're not allowed to. And nesting areas, please stay away. If you see a bird of prey, leave. A great thing to remember is thumbs up, buttercup. So you left thumb up and just get out of there. Raptors have a hard time attacking up, and if for some reason they're successful, they're not attacking down. They're going to kill your drone, and if they attack down, they might get hurt as well. So when it comes to raptors, sacrifice your drone. At least that's me. Can't use it to hunt.
I got
here in
one more.
Colorado. Sure.
I got one more question that probably might apply to Kenji. A guy named Barry is asking, what is the safety record of drones in production? What technologies are in place or coming to make them even more safe?
In terms of the production, I don't have the last time I talked to Global, who's one of the primary insurers, there have been incidents, but no fatalities. So in terms of no fatalities, drones have a very clean record, and that's across the spectrum.
Yep.
There was one in New York, but that was an RC helicopter. In terms of technology to help with that, for example, with operations over people, there's going to be drones that are coming out with parachutes. So if something goes haywire in the air, the parachute will deploy and ensure nobody on the ground is hurt. They're coming out with drones that are frangible, which means that when they impact somebody, that they will just fall apart. So there's also anti-collision sensors on many of the drones that are out there now, which will prevent collisions with people and objects. So that technology already exists, but
which is only getting better. I've noticed,
Right.
like the sensors on the drones are working magnificent.
I can only imagine that if SpaceX can have two spaceships docking each other autonomously at 17,000 miles an hour, the navigation is going to be there to do that. So.
Pretty much.
And I also want to note there's going to be drones that are coming out that are called type certified, which means they meet a level of safety. So they've been tested for hundreds and hundreds of hours to ensure their reliability. And type certification is what passenger airplanes go through. So there's going to be an increased reliability and redundancies built into some drones that are going to be coming out. Of course, that's going to increase costs quite dramatically, but you will see that. And I know a number of drone companies that are involved in the cinema sphere are looking at that as potentials.
Cool. Well, why don't sacrifice safety for cost. Definitely.
Next phase, Chris, Mark.
Cool.
There you go.
But
Any last words, Vic or Kenji?
Yeah, I'll just finish this up. You want me to just finish this up real quick?
Yeah, sure. let's
Okay,
wrap
so
it up.
basically, if just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let's just leave it at that. When it comes to wildlife and stuff like that, might be legal to fly. Don't. It's just dumb. Future regulations, we talked real quick. Category 2, 3, and 4. OOP, which is operations over people. BV loss, which Kenji is integral with. I wish he could share what he does. He doesn't even share it with me. Remote ID. which is a big scare right now. Shouldn't be. And then notify and fly is something that we're probably going to see, where you can just tell somebody where you're flying, which will make things a lot easier. Here's some resources. Don't copy this down. Take a screenshot, whatever you want, and we'll make sure Mark said he's going to send these out to everybody. And we'll get those. And then I want to finish with this. Again, don't panic when it comes to remote ID. Don't put off buying a drone because you're afraid remote ID is coming. It's not till September 16th of 2023 where we have to comply with that. So
really quickly,
it's not even worth it right now to talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask.
No, I don't mean it like that. So please feel free to talk about it.
What is remote ID? I have no idea what it is.
Oh, okay, cool. It is it's going to be a system to where every drone sold after 9/16/22 and flown after 9/16/23 under commercial operations, so Part 107 operations, has to have something that will output its location of either takeoff or pilot, where attitude, altitude, speed, and returning home, that kind of stuff. What else? What am I missing, Kenji? I should know this.
No,
Is that
that's pretty much, in essence,
Okay.
it's a digital license plate for drones.
Yeah, digital
So-
license plate. There you go.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yes, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah.
So, Richard,
Find my iPhone for drones, basically.
There you go. I think
But-
that's a good way to put it. But
Come on,
there-
guys.
Okay, cool.
Time.
Time.
Alan
Okay.
is moving along because
Okay.
we have to get moving.
Sorry, guys.
All righty. So I'm going to
Gotta give Gabriel and Daniel a shot.
Stop share.
Thank-
There we go. Thank you very much. And as always, that went way down too many rabbit holes. But that's
Yes, yeah.
life.
Thank you so much.
Life in the drone sphere.
Yep, no worries.
Cool.
And then
So
I'll be answering some of the questions that are popping up in the Q&A. So
Oh, I didn't
Go
even
for
know.
it.
awesome.
yeah.
So now we'll quickly shift gears and talk to our representatives from Sony and see what's going on from that route and what's coming for us into the future of droning. So let's talk to Gabriel Johnson and Daniel De La Rosa.
Thanks, Chris. I'll start off really quick. I work, Dan De La Rosa, work at Sony Pictures Entertainment in Culver City. And this new Sony AirPeak drone has been really kind of a culmination of a multi-year kind of development process. And we're actually able to work with the R&D team out of Japan, obviously pre-pandemic, in the development process. And they really wanted to get to the content creators. So one of the things we actually did was we brought them over to the Sony lot and had them talk to several drone operators about how they work. The drone operators even brought some drones to the lot, and I know all about the insurance. It was quite the headache to get everything approved and make sure everybody had 107s and in line just to fly drones on the lot in the controlled space. But they made a couple of trips from Japan out to get a really good understanding of how our content creators using the drones. And they continue to use that to kind of funnel the development of the AirPeak drone in Japan. And one of the things I thought was interesting was they went to the JAXA facility, which is basically Japan's equivalent of NASA, to do some wind tunnel testing. And if you Google AirPeak JAXA testing, you'll hit a YouTube video that actually shows, this is clips from that video or stills from that video. But the video shows the drone actually holding steady at a wind speed of 43 miles per hour approximately. And so they built a pretty impressive platform. And through this process, some of the feedback we gave them was, it'd be great to be able to use a camera, not have a camera built into the drone, but be able to use a separate camera. We have the Sony Alpha line of cameras, which is great. They're able to do S-Log3 gamma curve, which is the same gamma curve that the Venice can do. So it actually makes a little bit easier from a workflow perspective if you've got your beauty camera as Venice and you want to get some establishing or just some aerial shots. You can use the S-Log3 to help match your footage after the fact. And with that, I'm going to hand off to Gabriel Johnson, who is with Sony Electronics US, and he'll give you more information on all the technical details of the AirPeak drone.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I think it's a great kind of setup for Air Peak and what we're realizing with the system, and how we kind of arrived at it. So I'll go ahead and kind of jump in and share.
Gabriel, should I play the video or not yet?
Not yet. I got a couple
Okay,
slides,
cool.
and then we can jump to the video. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here so you guys can see stuff. Cool. So hopefully everybody can see that slide there. So Air Peak is, as Dan shared, really a great culmination.
No slide, Gabriel.
No slides
Sorry.
yet, guys? Okay. Let me try that again.
I mean, you're great to look at, but
Absolutely.
Let's see here. You see it now? Slides.
So that's what
Bingo.
it looks like.
There we go. There's
oh,
And
sexy.
Really
Look at that,
quickly,
not me.
I can just put Sony Alpha cameras on this strictly.
So we've spec'd it as such.
Okay, gotcha.
But to those, their imagination, let them.
Oh, how interesting.
So
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, again, we've tested this with Alpha, but it's a plated gimbal system, so we can't warranty what can work on it, but it's not going to stop people from trying. So,
Gabriel, is that a Grimsey on there?
It is a Grimsey designed specifically for Air Peak. So it's got some special connections that hook up to the Alpha system using USB. So I'll get into a little bit. I know everybody's probably got a ton of questions. I'll get to some of those here in a minute. But Air Peak, as Dan was sharing, really got a lot of great feedback directly from the industry, particularly from those in the cinematography and photography space to really bring the product together. And the fact that Sony has such great relationships and deep relationships in that space, while paired with all of our technology and understanding, has allowed us to really develop something like this. What's probably little known about Sony when it comes to this, because a lot of people may be thinking, what business is Sony doing making a drone? Well, the reality is it's really a lot of the technologies that Sony's built over the years, and simply putting those in the air, really, whether it's imaging sensors, imaging processing, whether it's camera technology, like in the case of the Alphas here, and then probably lesser known is the AI and robotics technology. Anybody remember IBO or heard of IBO recently or tried out one? The first IBO came out back in 2000, believe it or not. And so over 20 years ago, Sony was commercializing AI technology long before that was a buzzword in the tech space. So we've had a lot of these core technologies that we've built over the years, and now we've been able to actually put them into the air, based on kind of feedback from the marketplace. And so, yeah, that's a little background on Air Peak, but I got to say, I'm super excited to be on this team working on this. I think as you guys probably saw my profile there. I've been with Sony for quite some time. Spent a lot of that time on the camera side of the business, and more recently picked up our mobile phone business, and now Air Peak. And so I come into the drone industry with a kind of unique perspective coming from the camera space. Drones have been something in my periphery for most of my career, because you don't talk about cameras without talking about drones. Typically, especially in the high-end space with like Alpha series, a lot of people were starting to pick those up. I remember one of the early matrices was sitting in our office for the longest time, because people wanted to use it for that kind of stuff. You use Alpha for that kind of stuff. But super exciting. Quick little insider info for you guys here. These are shots that we just took this week. We've got units now we're testing in the US. So just to give you a sense, it's really real. It's coming here. This is out in Glamis down here in Southern California, where we were taking some shots. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that in the coming weeks here, hitting the web, as we roll out that campaign. But going back to what Dan was saying about how we've designed this, really our first and foremost kind of audience for this is aerial creators. And part of that's because we have such great relationships. We're embedded in the community, and we're able to really get that voice of customer to put this together. That said, there's a ton of applications for drones beyond this. I mean, a lot of the use cases for it in the case of cinematography and photography also translate well to a whole host of enterprise applications as well. We've had a lot of companies approaching us, from power companies to infrastructure inspection companies, like saying, "Hey, we love to put those alphas in the sky with your new drone." So and get high quality images that we can use for phototelemetry or any number of other things. So really exciting stuff that's happening there. But at the core of what we're doing at this initial stage is really focusing on this kind of aerial creator space. One of the things I'm sure a lot of folks are interested in is the kind of controls, like what exactly can you control with this? And this is a blown up view of the interface here on the AirPeak flight app. So this is kind of your in-flight application. You'll see on the left there, you've got all of your controls for the drone itself. So all the kind of flight controls. On the right, you'll notice all the controls for the camera. And so that's probably what's getting a lot of people, I'm sure, on the call here excited is this depth of control that you'll have on the camera. And so we're really excited about that integration to be able to provide that, because we're kind of building the system end to end, right? We're supplying the cameras that work really well with this drone. So there's a really strong level of integration there, which is exciting. Speaking of cameras, this gives you kind of a sense of what it's designed around now. Like I said, people are going to do what they're going to do with this. They're going to try different things. We're going to find out what else you can fly with this. But our engineers have designed it specifically for use around the Alpha full frame mirrorless camera system and lens system. And this idea of being able to swap out the cameras is really kind of core to how we designed this, right? Because as Dan was saying, a lot of people are like, well, we want to be able to change the cameras. Like, yes. Guess what? We got a great system to do that already, and now we can put that in the air. So that's what we built it around, is the Alpha system for that purpose. So you can get different types of cameras for whatever you're trying to shoot, where you're really in need of high quality video, slow-mo video, you want resolution, sensitivity, speed, whatever it is, we can fulfill that with our full frame mirrorless camera line. And then with the lenses, you've got a whole host of high quality lenses to choose from as well. Note all these are primes. And so that's really what this is geared towards is primes, obviously, because start getting zoom mechanisms going on, a gimbal in the air, weird things can happen. But yeah, this is really kind of what we've structured it around today. But again, leave it to people's imagination about what else they might want to do with these. So
that going back a little bit to the
Yeah.
slide before that, the app that you were talking about, is
Yes.
that is this a separate monitor with a remote, or am I going to be able to put a phone on that, or is
Yeah,
this?
so the app that we have for AirPeak system is called AirPeak Flight, and that's going to be a mobile application for iOS. So you can put that onto an iPhone, or you can put it onto an iPad or iPad Pro, and you'll be able to have full control.
Oh, okay, so it would
Yeah.
be a way for the Sony Alpha camera to communicate with my phone.
It'd be a way for it to communicate with the drone application, I guess, maybe more.
Okay.
Yeah, because so this is the application here. This is synced to the controller. The controller is then synced to everything else in the system, the aircraft.
I see. So the Alpha would basically feed the footage to the drone, and then the drone would feed the camera to this app.
And the drone can actually control the Sony Alpha. So it's actually like acts as a relay. So any controls you hit here, it will go to the drone first, and then via the connection, control settings on the camera itself.
You might
Right,
point
and
out, Gabriel, is there a FPV camera or an additional camera for the pilot, or is this
Yes.
a dual operation?
Yes,
Possible?
yeah, there is dual operation is possible on this as well. So you could independently operate the gimbal and camera and have someone else managing the flight itself. So get 2 controllers out there, get 2 iPads out, and you can go out with it like that. So
Fun.
yeah, that's an option. And yeah, there's FPV on this. There's 5 different vision sensors as well. So for like obstacle avoidance, which is really exciting. And there's also autonomous flight, which is, I think, something kind of interesting when you think of it in the cinematography space, because being a pilot is one thing in doing that, but if you're short on a budget, you can't hire a pilot. Sorry, Mark. You could pre-program the flight and focus your time on actually just capturing stuff on site. So you can really just focus on the cinematography aspect of it as opposed to the flight aspect. So
Right. What I think you're trying to imply is that if you can program the drone to do that flying for that take, then you can step in and be the camera op and let the camera autonomously fly itself for that particular take, as
Absolutely.
long as we have a 107 around.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and to add to that, it was during the development process. There was one thing that was kind of unanimously kind of voiced by the drone operators that the team spoke to, is the ability to have the dual operators set up. Because the assumption was made early on, it's like, oh, well, we'll make it easy to control for a single pilot and that slash cinematographer. But when they heard that feedback, they realized, yes, we need to be able to accommodate dual operators.
Good.
Yeah, and all those use cases are so true. You could think of it on a movie set, right? The actor flubs a line on this shot you're doing, and we got to reshoot. You've already got the flight down, so you just focus on doing the actual
A reset.
You do a reset real easily, so it becomes really nice to be able to repeat flights. Almost like having described as like rails in the sky.
Can you rack aperture on this? So make smooth aperture changes?
That is a really good question.
I think you would be able to if
there is aperture control.
Yeah.
And
then
because that's a big disadvantage right now, is with most systems, it forces you into detents. Yeah. And what Kenji, this is what everybody's just, desires to have, without going to an external motor to run the aperture. If that's incorporated somehow, oh man, that would be awesome.
Hint. And then I think so. The payload is around 8 to 10 pounds on that gimbal, probably.
The total, it can hold about 5.
5 pounds.
So that so that obviously limits the size and scale of what you can put on here. That's where something like Alpha becomes kind of ideal in this case, because you got lightweight bodies, lightweight lenses, but you get the high quality, right? So
yeah, cool.
That series is yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And really quick on the aperture thing, if I could just interject really quick on to Kenji's question. Yeah, on some of the G, and I think it's pretty much all the G lenses that were shown there, they actually have a switch, and this is the 40 that you can actually switch and have it be a smooth aperture or have it be detent, and then it can be electronically controlled, because it's really, the aperture itself is electronically controlled by the camera, even though it has the aperture ring.
Beautiful.
Two questions from the audience. One, did Sony make a robot dog? Didn't they sell a robot dog?
Yes.
And he flies.
This your
drone
AC.
actually. Yeah, this drone, to what Gabriel was saying earlier at the beginning, is actually from the same group that created IBO.
Oh, there you go.
It's the AI and robotics group. So cool. A lot of like Gabriel was saying, a lot of the technology it wins, and the most current version of IBO, especially with all the sensing abilities, is in this drone, especially for like obstacle avoidance and things like that.
So the dog became a drone. Evolution. Okay.
Transformer.
This is an interesting question that might regard everyone on this panel. I thought to be legal, you had to have a spotter or operator and navigator. So yes, we can get the drone to
might be for Vic.
No.
Yeah, this is for Vic.
Actually, I answered that in the chat, but yeah, you only need the RPIC, you only need the RPIC. So the person with the 107 really to fly. I think what confused him was when you start talking about FPV. FPV has two definitions. One, you wear the goggles and you fly. Yeah, you need a VO for that spotter. But what I think what Kenji's talking about is an FPV camera on the drone where who's ever flying the drone can see where the drone is going as opposed to where the camera's pointing. So in that situation, no, all you need is the RPIC on the either on the camera or on the drone. And then somebody, whoever else is either manipulating the sticks for the drone or for the camera. So no, in that case, no.
However, just as you've said, Vic, just because something's legal, there are some things when we're flying on set, when we're around crew and talent, that when I'm doing that on a set,
sure,
I have VOs, I have ground security people, and again, it's just that extra layer of
safety
first. It comes from being a pilot. You just because the FAA says you can doesn't mean you should. Or what are the extra precautions that, as a good ambassador for the industry and a good practitioner, what do I like to put into place as my SOP?
Right. Yeah, you've got your minimum crew, but you should think way above and beyond what your minimum crew is for safety aspects. Absolutely. Because if something goes wrong, guess whose butt's in a sling is the RPIC.
Right. And the question will be, well, why didn't you provide then for this? Right? Anyway.
Yeah, and a quick aside to that, I was on a production in Hawaii, actually, that was shared airspace with touring helicopters. And so we definitely had to have not just one, but two spotters, because they can come in any direction. And then plus you have, in this case, we were second unit, so having an active production going on as well. So making sure that there's nothing going on with the production that could interfere with the operation of the drone.
Well, Vic told me how to write some of the COAs, and the risk mitigation, even language that he taught me. The people that sometimes I get into a discussion with FAA regional, and they appreciate that. And again, my hat's off to Vic for mentoring me in that direction. But when you can show leadership in a positive way, as an operator, as a practitioner, that just benefits the industry, period.
This is where I should probably say every time you're in the air, you're an ambassador for the drone industry. Every time.
Good point. Very good point.
Is this, did you queue up a video or should I queue it up? Let's see.
Yeah, I've got it queued up. I think here, you guys should be able
let's try it. Let's try it from your end. It might play smooth.
Cool. Yeah. So what I've got here for you guys, you may have seen this video already. So if you have, sorry if you've already seen this, maybe not so exciting, but for those of you who haven't, this is an awesome shot we did actually in Okinawa, Japan, with AirPeak, with Alpha. Just shows you really kind of the amazing shots you can get with this, the high quality video can be captured.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Really
Very
nice.
nice.
Gorgeous.
I can't take credit like you guys can for actually shooting that. So
Can I place my pre-order?
very, very
Hey, I have
soon.
a question for you for batteries, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Obviously at altitude, whether it's 5,500 feet in Denver or 14,000 feet on top of Pikes Peak, altitude kills battery time. Is Sony looking at maybe something with a little more oomph in the battery department?
We are looking at putting a larger capacity battery into market. So
Yay.
it is on our roadmap. Yeah.
If you need somebody to test it at 14,000 feet, let me know.
Is there a price point on this item yet?
Yep. It's going to be available for $9,000.
And it is released. When is it released?
Soon.
Soon. Awesome.
He doesn't want to commit on that one.
At the first in-person Smpte meeting.
Yeah. Oh, it looks great.
Awesome.
It looks great.
So,
It'll be
unless
this
somebody
year. I'll say that
has-
it'll be this year.
because of time and whatnot, I mean, I'm just enjoying myself so much with all of you. It's just so wonderful. What a great group of people to get together at once. And as Vic said, oh, we went down rabbit holes when we're talking about drones. Of course we do. But anyway, at this point, Chris, do you think we should curate some of the questions, or
Well,
what do you think, Alan?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Okay.
Another question from our friend at Ringmaster. Are there certain kinds of lenses that you find work better for drone shots? Obviously, things like fish eye are good. Anything with a shallow depth, with a good depth of field is going to be good.
Kenji, why don't you jump in on that, and then I might have some comments after you.
Any lenses that do you think are better work with drones?
It really depends. I mean, one of the things is if you want to get at 400 feet and you're looking down, you want to get a lot. You want to go with like a 9mm on a Super 35. That's rectilinear. That's going to give you the widest field of view, so you can get as wide as possible. It depends on really what you want to use it for. I mean, we go 35 and a 50 on a Super 35 just to get those really dynamic shots when we want stuff moving in the background and such. Or if we're getting just sort of the panoramas that you see out there, that's usually on a 16 or a 24. So it really depends on what you're shooting, what you're focusing in on, and the type of shot that you want. So it's great to have that range, especially with Sony having that wide variety of focal lengths is going to be fantastic.
I think, Kenji, yeah, you brought up a great point, which is for any camera movement.
Yeah.
That lensing is part of our palette. Okay. And what the focal lengths do in a given movement situation or not, or static or whatever. But you mentioned something which was wonderful. And I show this to directors all the time, and because they forget. The DPs know. They sleep, they dream this stuff. But your parallax as you move, that beautiful magical thing that happens between the foreground and the background when you use kind of a longer lens. Gorgeous. Okay. But there's shots that, again, we're pushing that. Our goal is to enable the vision of the director to push the story. And, lensing is part of that discussion, of course. But yeah, it's a fabulous to see that selection of all kinds of alternatives here is fantastic from a lensing palette standpoint. Beautiful.
Guys, it's about 7.
Awesome.
7:11, 7:12.
Keep it revving. 7-Eleven.
7:11. We're good. And I think I don't have any more questions. I think we answered everybody.
I think we can wrap it up, and I'll introduce the film after a few words from Linda.
Yes.
And thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes. Wonderful,
Amazing
guys.
panel.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Thanks for asking.
I just want to thank you all. You were amazing. Mark, Kenji, Chris, Vic, Daniel, Gabriel, and Alan. Thanks. He and I have been going back and forth on texting. I really appreciate this large panel really condensing things into a good time slot. So I appreciate that. And again, to our attendees, I want to thank you. I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I feel as though the stature of the attendees are as impressive as those of the participants. And it's really an honor to have you all there. So thank you all very much. I feel like Romper Room, which ages myself, and say hi to everybody as attendees, but I won't do it. But I'm thrilled to see all of you. So I just want to say thank you, and I'll let Chris continue now with the film. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Linda.
Take care.
Thank
Awesome.
you all.
Yeah, and just a quick little brief description of this film. Everyone's you can turn your cameras off. We're just going to start the film. But this film comes to us from director Vanessa Elliott, and it's called The Lone Drone. And there is actually a Smpte familiar face in it who makes a guest cameo acting. So keep an eye out for that if you know the individuals from Smpte Hollywood. And the main reason I wanted to show this film is because it does show this humanistic sort of approach to technology, even though it can be a little surreal, or it kind of brings questionable subjects to the matter with ethics and AI and stuff like that. But I know that like technology is really about what way you want to direct it. And when the ethics comes into play is like your relationship with the technology. So here's a interesting little film about the lone drone.
How long is the film, Chris?
It is, hold on 1 second. Oops. "15 minutes.
Okay, good to know.
So everyone have a good night, and thank you all for joining us.
How'd you make this?
So that's the brain that makes it work.
Whoa.
The wires go out to all the switches and knobs, and to the battery and the speaker. There it is.
You had me fooled. If you don't clean up after yourself, it's getting tossed.
Okay, okay.
What is all this, anyway? Where are you going?
Outside.
All right, well, don't wander off too far. It's gonna get dark soon. You hear me?
Oh, you're hurt. I might have something that can help. Let's see. I'm Sarah, and I'm a human. A good human. Did you come from space? Cosmic. There. Now try. Come on! Ma! I made a friend! Can I keep it?
No, get rid of that thing now.
Come on, Mom. We were having
Sarah,
fun.
you don't know where it came from. Could be a spy. So get rid of it or I will.
Supper's ready. Why can't we talk to him?
We just can't right now.
He's our family.
I know this is hard for you. Okay? This is hard for me too, but look, your father's gonna be away for a while, and we aren't allowed to make contact with him.
That's better. You must be from space. I've never been, but my pa's there now. Do you have a spaceship? Will you take me there? Mom will understand. Once we find the spaceship and save Papa.
Sarah! Sarah?
See that ridge? Racia.
Yes. Brown hair. Brown eyes. She was wearing a tie-dye t-shirt and jean shorts. Yes, please. As soon as possible.
How far do you think we are from the ship? Where are you going? Drone, come back! Why'd you leave me? Do you even know where you're going? I should have never trusted a dumb drone. I need to go home now. And you should go home to wherever you came from. Mom, I made a friend. Can I keep it?
No,
Come on, Mom.
Sarah?
Mama?
My baby. What are you doing all the way out here?
I'm sorry. I thought I could find a spaceship to save Papa.
What?
I thought I could fix our family.
Fix? There's nothing to fix, Sarah. Look, just because Papa's gone doesn't mean we're not a family. I'm here for you no matter what. You know that, right?
Guess so.
I know so, sweetie.
How'd you find me?
This crazy drone led me to you.
I guess we are friends.
Friends? Okay, come on, let's get you home. Well, you coming? Did you ever figure out how the drone flies all by itself?
It's magic.
Will you guide us with your might? Clear a path in the night, powered only by a star up in the void, or so we think. Shrouded in mystery, you can't be what we see. It's magic that you breathe. Where there's me and you, there's you and me. She's out in the range and ready for action. Just wants to gauge your reaction when she's strange. It is her greatest satisfaction to reframe the obstacles that life puts in your way.